Welcome, adventurers, to another journey into the rich and mysterious world of Middle Earth. Today, we're diving into two incredible tales. A cozy yet exciting story of hobbits uncovering an enchanted artifact, and a mysterious, heart-pounding adventure deep in the shadowy mountains of the realm. Both stories will captivate your imagination, whether you're a die-hard fan of Tolkien's universe or just someone who loves a great tale. Before we begin, don't forget to hit that like button to support the channel. Subscribe for more magical journeys, and ring that bell to never miss an upload. And of course, we'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment down below about your favorite part of these stories. All right, grab your lembas, bread, and settle. It's time to explore the wonders of Middle Earth. An unexpected hearth in Middle Earth. Deep in the heart of Middle Earth, nestled in the quiet hills of the Shire, rose a little village known as Brookwood Hollow. Far from the bustling streets of Hobbiton, Brookwood Hollow was a haven of serenity where birds chirped in harmony and the gentle gurgle of streams wove through the meadows. It was a place where time itself seemed to linger like the steam from a freshly brewed pot of tea. Among the villagers lived a hobbit by the name of Marable Tunnelly. Marable was not your typical hobbit, though she adored a good plate of mushroom stew and took pride in her tidy, yellow front-doored burrow. There was a spark in her greenish-hazel eyes and a restlessness in her fur-lined feet. Her neighbors would often shake their heads when they saw her mending her walking stick or poring over that well-worn map of the Westfarthing. Adventure is no proper pursuit for a hobbit, they'd mutter. But Marable couldn't help herself. She loved the tantalizing call of lands unseen and whispers of stories yet untold. One chilly autumn evening, as the first stars began to twinkle overhead, Marable's cozy burrow was suddenly filled with the tap-tap-tapping of hurried knocking on her round door. Wondering who could possibly need her at such an hour, she dusted off her knitting, climbed out of her chair, and swung the door open. Standing there, cloaked in mist and mystery, was none other than Peregrine Took, better known as Pippin, one of the Shire's most famous hobbits. His cheeks were red from the cold, and his eyes sparkled with a mischievous kind of urgency. "Good heavens, Mr. Took," Marable exclaimed, ushering him inside. "Whatever are you doing all the way out here? Shouldn't you be back at Great Smiles, tucked up warm with a mug of ale?" Pippin smiled brightly, but wasted no time in getting to the point. "Marable, I've heard from Merry. He's just arrived from Buckland. There's a peculiar old cart abandoned in the woods near Bindbale. Said it's covered in carvings and shimmering like moonlight on the Brandywine. Sounds like something worth investigating, don't you think?" For a moment, Marable hesitated. She looked longingly at her crackling hearth, the plump cushions in her armchair, and the half-knit scarf dangling from her hands. Then she glanced at the walking stick leaning in the corner, the one she'd secretly hoped to use. "Let me get my cloak," she said with a grin. It didn't take long for Marable and Pippin to make their way to the outskirts of Brookwood Hollow, where they met Merry, standing at the edge of the woods. He held a lantern aloft, his breath puffing out in little clouds. "There you are. This way," he said, beckoning them into the trees. The woods, though familiar to Marable, felt oddly alive that night. The wind whispered through the branches, as if carrying secrets, and the leaves crunched beneath their feet, muffling other, softer noises in the shadows. Sure enough, just as Mary had described, they found an old cart leaning against a moss-covered tree. It was unlike anything Marable had ever seen. Its wheels were made of what seemed to be silvered wood, and the sides were etched with intricate designs: curling ivy, stars, and what appeared to be runes in a strange, ancient script. A faint glow pulsed along its surface, as though it remembered distant starlight. "Well now, isn't this something?" Pippin murmured, reaching a hand toward the carvings. But as soon as his fingers brushed the wood, a soft hum filled the air. The glow brightened, and slowly, the cart's interior unfolded like the pages of a pop-up book. Inside, they found a collection of peculiar objects: a small globe that spun on its own, jars full of powders that emitted light, and a folded map that shimmered as though it held a piece of dawn itself. At the very center was a bundle wrapped in deep green cloth. Mary leaned forward and unwrapped it, revealing a beautifully crafted teapot and 3 matching cups. It was a most unassuming object compared to the rest, but something about it felt magical. "Well, this is cozy," Mary muttered, though there was a trace of suspicion in his voice. "Do you think it's dangerous?" "Dangerous?" Pippin said, incredulous. "It's a teapot, Mary, not a dragon. What's the worst it could?" Before he could finish, a soft, hissing sound interrupted him. The teapot had begun to steam, despite no sign of fire or water nearby. Out poured a fragrant aroma, hints of chamomile, lavender, and an herby scent none of them could quite place. The smell wrapped around them like a warm woolen blanket. Curiosity got the better of them. Marable took the cups and poured out the tea, each cup filling with liquid the color of twilight. They hesitated for a heartbeat, then, with a collective shrug, took a sip. The moment the tea touched her lips, Marable gasped. Images flashed before her eyes: rolling green hills, mighty mountains, starlit rivers, and ancient cities carved in stone. She saw faraway places she had only heard of in stories, and for a moment she felt as if she had walked their roads and seen their wonder. "The elves," she whispered, her voice full of awe. This must be theirs. Merry and Pippin nodded, each clearly spellbound by the experience. They sat in silence for a long time, letting the warmth of the tea settle in their bellies, and the vivid visions fade like the last rays of the sun. Whatever it is, Mary finally said, breaking the quiet, it's not meant for us. We should take it to Rivendell. Elrond will know what to do with it. Marable looked at the teapot and the glowing cart, then at her two companions. Her heart swelled with the thought of traveling beyond the Shire, to the lands she had glimpsed in the tea's enchantment. I'll come with you, she said, her voice steady and decided. And so will I, Pippin declared, thumping his chest. The three hobbits spent the rest of the night in Marable's burrow, planning their route and sharing lively conversation over real tea brewed in a real kettle. As the fire crackled and their laughter rang out, they couldn't help but feel that this adventure was the beginning of something extraordinary. And so, as dawn broke over the Shire, three hobbits set off with a magical teapot, a map full of wonder, and the promise of new stories waiting to be written. Little did they know, Middle Earth had a way of turning the smallest of beginnings into the grandest of tales. Now wasn't that an enchanting tale? From the warmth of the Shire to the shimmering glow of a magical teapot, we've tasted the magic of a quieter, cozier Middle Earth. But hold on to your cloaks, because our next story takes us down a much darker path. A cryptic message, a perilous journey, and a lost relic of ancient power await. This is the kind of adventure that'll keep you at the edge of your seat. Let's venture into the shadowy depths of the broken peaks, if you dare. The lost relic of Middle Earth, deep within the misty mountains of Middle Earth, where the wind howled and the skies seemed to merge with shadow, there was a legend left, untold, a relic, older than anyone could remember, hidden by the ancestors of dwarves and elves alike. They called it the Emberstone, a gem said to echo with the power of fire and light, rumored to have been forged by the Valor themselves before the dawn of men. But the stone had been lost to history, swallowed by the earth after an ancient battle, leaving only whispers of its existence. Iruin, a young ranger from the northern wilds, stood on the threshold of adventure one fateful autumn evening. The summons had come unexpectedly, a weathered scroll delivered to him by a crow with sharp emerald eyes. The message, brief and cryptic: the Emberstone resides beneath the broken peaks. Seek its light before the shadows claim it. A friend. Iruin shivered under the weight of the cryptic words. Broken peaks lay far to the east, an accursed region largely avoided by travelers. Rumors spoke of ruins that shifted under the moonlight, and creatures prowling the night, wilder than anything found elsewhere. Yet, Iruin had no choice. Something about the message pulled at his very soul. Setting out at dawn, Iruin traveled through forests cloaked in golden leaves, rivers singing their way southward, and valleys tucked between jagged hills, each one bringing him closer to the forbidding broken peaks. Along the way, he crossed paths with companions he hadn't expected. First was Vanya, an elven scout with hair as silver as moonlight and sharp blue eyes that seemed to see through any deception. She had overheard Iruin bargaining for supplies in a village and decided his purpose might align with her own. Vanya, too, had heard tales of the Emberstone long ago, more than just a weapon. It was said to hold the wisdom of the ages, sealed away by the ancestors of elves who feared what its knowledge might reveal. Then came Harlan, a stout dwarf with a braided beard and an axe that glinted like gold beneath starlight. He joined them after hearing about Iruin's goal in passing at a roadside inn. Though short in stature, his demeanor demanded attention, and his loyalty shone brighter than mithril. Bah! No man nor elf should go searching for forgotten treasures without a dwarf at their side, he exclaimed. Together, the trio ventured deeper into the heart of danger, facing challenges both seen and unseen. As the air grew colder and the terrain more treacherous, the mystery of the Emberstone seemed to leak into their surroundings. Shadows shifted unnaturally, and whispers echoed through the trees, though no figures could be seen. Soon they reached the broken peaks, jagged spires of stone that loomed like claws reaching up toward the heavens. The base of the peaks was home to a ruined fortress, crumbled and worn by time, but brimming with an eerie presence. Iruin felt as though unseen eyes were watching every move they made. While exploring the ruins, Vanya uncovered an ancient map carved into the stone of the fortress walls, depicting secret chambers beneath the mountains. "The Emberstone lies below," she murmured as her fingers traced the etchings. But at that moment, the ground shuddered, and ghastly shapes emerged from the darkness. A band of pale-skinned wraiths, hollow eyes glowing with malice. The companions fought valiantly. Vanya's arrows flew swift and true. Harlan's axe bellowed like thunder, and Iruin wielded his sword like a gale, sweeping through the battlefield. Yet the wraiths remained relentless, embodying the nightmares of the earth itself. Only when Iruin cried out and struck the ground with his blade did the wraiths scatter, their screams woven into the wind. Bruised but determined, Iruin and his companions found the path to the underground chambers. The descent was perilous. Narrow stone passages spiraled downward into a cavern, glittering faintly with azure light. At its heart stood the Emberstone, perched atop a pedestal carved with runes that seemed to hum faintly, resonating even in silence. Before they could reach their prize, the chamber seemed to gasp, as though the mountain itself had come alive. Stone walls cracked, and fiery fissures opened, pouring forth shadowy creatures wrapped in flame. An ancient guardian had been stirred, a beast forged of fire and ash, resembling a dragon, but without true form, roaring with rage. The trio scrambled. Vanya darted around the chamber, loosing arrow after arrow to distract the beast. Harlan hacked at the tendrils of flame, his axe glinting fiercely. But it was Iruin who stepped toward the emberstone. He reached not with greed, but reverence, his heart calling out to the relic, pleading for its aid. The moment his hands touched the stone, a radiant light exploded outward, engulfing the chamber in a cascade of fire and gold. The guardian recoiled, shrieking as if struck by pain, before crumbling into ash. The fissures sealed themselves, and the cavern fell eerily silent, shimmering like a star-kissed sky. Iruin stood in awe. The emberstone pulsed with warmth in his hands, not hot, but comforting, whispering ancient truths into the depths of his soul. He realized then that the relic was no weapon, nor mere treasure, but a shard of Middle Earth's essence, a beacon meant to guide its people through times of desperation. As the trio emerged from the caverns, the first rays of dawn spilled across the broken peaks, scattering every shadow that had clung to the cursed land. They watched as the darkness lifted, revealing a beauty that had been hidden for centuries. Their journey, though perilous, had awakened something more than legends. It had reignited hope, proving that even in Middle-earth's darkest corners, light would always find a way to shine through. And as Iruin held the emberstone aloft, he knew their adventure was far from over. Secrets yet untold awaited them, and shadows still stirred across the lands. For the relic had found its keeper, and Middle-earth had remembered its lost flame. And there you have it, fellow travelers, two very different, but equally enthralling tales from the legendary lands of Middle-earth. Whether it's the charm of hobbits discovering hidden wonders, or the thrill of uncovering ancient relics buried in mystery, these stories remind us why we continue to be captivated by Tolkien's world. So, which story stirred your imagination the most? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed these adventures, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel for even more epic storytelling, and share these tales with your fellow fans of Middle-earth. And don't forget to check out our other videos. We've got plenty more adventures, lore deep dives, and magical moments waiting for you. Until next time, may your path be clear and your journey filled with wonder. Farewell, adventurers.